Let's begin with our class. So likewise, I have said previously that we'll be having a revision of what we have discussed till now, since we have a lot of gap in between. So let's start again from the basics, from the very first class which we have discussed. So the first thing we have discussed is about what high level and low level language is. So when you give some instructions to a computer, so it will be compiled by a compiler and it will be converted into a machine code, or it is also called as a low level language. So that low level language is easily understood by the PC. So whatever information you give to the computer, it will be compiled by the compiler, and that compiler will turn the instructions which you have given into a native PC language called as the machine code or assembly language, or it is even called as the low level language. So Python, on the other hand, is a high level language, which means that it is very easy to write, it is very easy to understand, and whatever you write, it will be converted by the compiler into the machine code. So all the text files which are written in Python ends in .py format, and here we will be seeing about what variables and how variable declaration is done. So likewise, I have given a value 10, I have assigned a value 10 to the variable age. I have assigned a value of 40.0, which is a float point variable, to weight, and a string to name. So we can print those values by using the print function. So it is given by print age, which prints the age which you have declared here, and the weight and the name. So that is the use of print function. So whatever variable you have assigned and you have declared here, you can print that by using the print function. And knowing the type of data, like if you want to know the type of data, so it can be found out by using type method. So type of age gives you that this data type 10, the value which you have assigned to age, it is of data type int. So you can check out for weight and it returns float, and you can check out for name, so it will be obviously returning string. So that is only about how you declare a variables and how you print those variables and knowing the data type of those variables. So this is how it is done. And next, there are few basic operations which you should be knowing. So those few basic operations are, so I have declared two variables and I have assigned value 20 for variable 1, which is num1, and for num2 I have assigned a value of 10. So if I want to add those values, addition, so we will be writing something like print num1 plus num2, and for subtraction you would be writing num1 minus num2, and for multiplication num1, the star symbol is used for multiplying any two variables. For multiplication operations you should be using the star symbol, and for division you would be using this backslash operator, and there you go, print num1 by num2. And for remainder you would be using this operator which is called as the modulus operator, and the remainder for 10 and 20 would be 0. So that is how all these basic operations you should be knowing. And after that, if you want to print the power of a number and its cube, so let's give a value, let's give the value val1, and we assign the variable value as 2. So if you want to print the power of a number, power of any number, you would be using this double star marks, double asterisk. So val1 star, just a minute. So print val1, and when you give those two double stars and to the power of 2, that means you wanted 2 power 2. And for the same, if you want to print the cube of the number, you would be giving 3 here. And if you want to print the power 4, you would be giving 4. And 2 power 4 is 16. Let's say if you want to print square root, what we can do is we can put it like 0.5, and you will be getting the square root of 2. So these are the few things you should be knowing. And how the addition works in different data types. Let's take an integer value and let's try to print that integer value. So we are using print 2 plus 2, it yields 4. But when you try to do that for a string, so what it tries to do is it concatenates the two string objects. So this is one important point. For strings, it will concatenate, and for integer values, it will just do the basic addition operations. So that will be the first part. And the next is with the lists. So defining a list, it means that it is a collection of values which contains different data types. So another important thing would be the strings are always given in either single quotations or double quotations. So you should be knowing here that integer values, there is no need to mention any double quotations. But when you declare a string, you should be giving it in the quotations. Be it a single one or the double one, anything works fine. So if you want to know the data type for a list, it is obviously a list data type. So you could be monitoring that by using type of my list. And indexing, the most prominent and important one while dealing with lists is the indexing part. So indexing, I have told you previously that indexing works something like this. Every index value starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you can also find that by using this method function mylist.index, and if you want to know the index value of 2, so mylist.index 2, that gives you 0. And if you want to know the index value of 3, you can use mylist.index 3 and it gives you 1. And the same goes with 5, 6, and for this value okay, it gives you 4. So hard coding the part, we will be writing something like this. Every index value starts from 0 within a list. And subsetting using the indices. So let's say if I want to print my list of 2, that's 5. So corresponding to that element, we have the index position as 2. So if I want to access that 5, like the index position at 2, so you would be writing print my list of 2. So that would be resulting you the element which is present at that index position, which is 5. And let's say you want to go from the backwards. So when you are going from left to right, it is starting from 0. And if you want to go from right to left, it would be starting from -1. So print my list of -1, it starts from right to left and it prints you the very first element, which is the -1 index from right to left. So that's why you have got OK here. So that is the subsetting part. And coming to slicing, so another important thing is slicing, which you would be using in data frames. So you should be considering this notation. So the index value which you give at the beginning is inclusive, which means that the value corresponding to that index will be printed, while this exclusive will not be printed. So we can say that by the following example. Let's say you want to print from 2 to 5. So the index value of 2 is 0, 3 is 1 and 5 is 2. So I want to print from 2 to 5, right? So I'll be giving my values like my list of from 0 to, I'll be giving the index value of 3 because this is exclusive, right? So this value will not be printed. If you want to print this value, you should be giving the other, not the other, the index value of the corresponding element, that is the next element. So let's say if you can see it here, print my list of 0 to 3, it gives you 2 to 5. So let's say if I want to give the index value of 5, that is 2 here. So you will be getting only 2 and 3 because this part will never be included. So if you want to include this as well, so you should be giving the index value of the corresponding element. So that will be 0 to 3. And the another method which could also be followed is, you need not mention this 0 part if you want to start from the beginning of the list. Let's say I have told here the index part will be 0, right? So without mentioning the 0 part as well, if you leave it empty like this, so it will be considering that as 0 as well. So that also gives you the same result. And let's say I want to print the entire list. I want to print all the elements present in the list. I will not be mentioning any inclusive and exclusive part. I will just leave them both blank. So in that case, it prints the entire elements which are present in the list. So that is with the slicing thing. And next will be the adding elements into the list. So if you guys have raised confusion and doubt about how the append function works and how the plus operator works, so let's say I want to append something like not okay into my list. So the previous list which we have is this one, right? So observe carefully, we are having elements 2, 3, 5, 6 and okay in my list. So what I'm trying to do is I am appending not okay into the list. So I am specifying that not okay should be appended into my list. You see it here, right? My list. So when I try to print my list, it will print not okay into that list because we appended this one, right? Now the same can be used by using the plus operator. But what happens is if you will not mention this part, if you just write like this, so it will give you the result, but it will not, when you again try to print my list, it shows the original one. That is, it will show you only this one. It will not be showing you that Python has been added. So for doing that job, what you will be doing is you will be adding the updated value. This is the updated value. You would be adding this updated value to the previous list, and as a whole you would be declaring that into a new variable. So as such, you can see that this Python has been updated and it is been stored in this new variable mylist1. So that should be taken care when you use a plus operator, but most of the cases it is suggestible that you use append function, but basic knowledge is required. For that only reason I am saying how this plus operator works. And there is nothing to confuse. If you're feeling confused, you just go with dot append function. It will do the job. Like even most software professionals and everyone will use only append function. Even giving a new variable and adding it to the previous one, it takes more space and computing time also increases. So it is always advisable for you to do this part only. Okay. So let's say let's replace. So yeah. So we have this list, right? So this will be our new list. So this is our list. So now I want to replace this Python, which is at index, let's count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this Python is at index position 6. So I want to replace this Python with some other thing like C. So what I would be doing is I would be mentioning the index, because the Python is at index 6. I would be giving that index, and I would be writing my list of C, which is at index C, to be replaced with this value C. And what it does is it replaces that Python with C here. So that is one way which you can use indexes, and you can replace. You can use this method not only at index position 6, you can use it at any place, anywhere. There is no problem. And the next part comes for deleting elements in the list using the index. So let's say I want to delete this C because I really hate C language. So what I will do is I will be writing del, this will be the operator which you should be knowing, del mylist1 of index 6, because this is at 6th index position. So that removes that value, and when you try to print it again, print mylist1, so you will not be seeing any C here again. So these all are a few things which you should be knowing. And what I would be doing is I would be exporting this everything into a PDF format, so that again you would be able to refer what all I have told you. And next important thing would be functions. So functions, again, let's declare a list with values 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now I want to see the maximum value present in the list. So maxval, this is the most important method here. So I want to check the maximum value in this list. So I am doing something like I want to know max of val. So that gives you 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So the maximum value is 10. So it gives you 10. And I want to check the minimum value as well. So that can be done by minimum min. That will give you 2. And rounding values. So let's say I want to round 2.68. So the nearest integer is 3, right? So it will be rounding 2.68 to 3. But let's say I want to round it to the nearest decimal point. So I'll give it something like 1 and it rounds it to 2.7. And if I take it out, it will round it eventually to 3 again. So again, we have this knowing the index, right? So I have told you somewhere here, so dot index method. So that is the same thing. So I want to know the index position of 10 in that value list. So I'll be writing like val dot index of 10. So let's see again 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it is present at index position 4. These are the few functions. And for character operations, let's give a word Johnson and assign it to a variable word. And we have given both uppercase and lowercase letters, so that if I want to turn this entire thing into an uppercase, so I'd be writing word dot upper. So it yielded me all uppercase letters. And if I want to turn it all into lowercase, so here we go, the entire word, both the uppercase letters, the variable which we have declared, it is converted into lowercase. And is upper, is lower is usually used to check if the entire word is either uppercase or lowercase. Here we have the value with both uppercase and lowercase letters, right? We have both capitals and smaller, what we call that, capital case, small case values. So yeah, neither of them are completely small and neither of them are completely in uppercase. So it yields false for both of the values. But let's write, I have given all lowercase values. So word dot is lower should be printing you true. So there you go. Word dot is lower is true because all the words which we have declared here are lowercase. Let's give you the uppercase. And here it has print an upper. Dot is upper true. Well, dot is lower, which was previously true, but now is false because we have given all uppercase letters. And the next thing is replace. So the replace, let's give a word father and assign it to a variable called as word. And I want to replace this F with R. So I'd be using this method word.replace, and I want to replace F with R. So what you are getting there is rather the father, the F is replaced by R. So this is another thing, the replacing. So it's all fine till now. We have come to know about lists, we have come to know about the basic arithmetic operations and functions and everything. So now we will be diving into packages. So what are packages? So packages are already codes which are developed and that are used to import in Python for performing several tasks and computations. So there are several packages which are available. So scikit-learn, which is used for machine learning, pandas, which is used for data frames, numpy, which is used for array-based operations like matrices, matplotlib, which is used for data visualization, and pillow, which is used for image serializing and image analysis. And seaborn is more preferable than matplotlib because matplotlib offers you a standard visualization, but in seaborn you can add like colors, different different the whole user interface in seaborn is much better than the matplotlib. Just a minute, I have been receiving messages. I'm not able to join in the meeting. I don't know, a few of you guys have given me wrong emails. So when I have been sending you for direct access into the meet, so it is showing an error. Just a minute, like few students are having problem to join. Let's wait a minute. There are 3 students who are unable to join. Again, it takes a lot of effort to again start from the basics and again telling everything for individual students. So let's just wait a minute or two. Okay. So he'll be joining eventually. So yeah, Seaborn. So the important thing with Seaborn is the data visualization in Seaborn is very much enhanced compared to that of Matplotlib. So Matplotlib is very dry. You can visualize eventually, but the Seaborn offers a better visualization because there will be nice plots, there will be nice graphs, but Matplotlib doesn't offer anything like that. It would be just raw format visualization. So those are some information about packages which you need to know. So yeah, let's go to NumPy. So NumPy will be the very first basic package which we will be learning about. So NumPy, according to a definition of Google, so NumPy is a library for Python programming language adding support for large multi-dimensional arrays and matrices, along with a large collection of high-level mathematical functions to operate on these arrays. So this is all crap. A standard definition would be, on my terms, it would be if you want to use something called as arrays. So you would be using NumPy. So advantages of NumPy include it takes less space compared to that of a list, and it is easier to compile. Like the whole thing depends upon how fast the compilation process takes. So NumPys eventually compile faster than that of an list. So the next very important thing, so how do we import NumPy? So NumPy can be imported by using import NumPy as NP. So this is the very standard way of importing NumPy. So how you convert a given list into a NumPy array. So this one is a list. So I have given it array1. So this is just a list. Don't just get confused. So this is a list of values containing 2, 4, 5, 6, and I have given the value variable name as array1. So in order to convert it into NumPy array, I'd be using this np.array function. So what this thing does is whichever list, be it a multi-dimensional or a single dimensional list, if you want to convert it into any array, so you would be using like np.array and you are converting this array1. So I will assign this np.array of array1 to this np array. So this is our new np array, means this is our numpy array, and you can know this. I have written it C in order to avoid confusion. We will write, I want to know type of np, type of array1, that will give you a list, and type of np array. There you go. So this array1 will be a list, but if you convert it into numpy array, we would be using something like np.array, and you would be giving this list value here, and you are giving this whole value into a new variable. Okay, so now if you try to print it, it will print eventually the same thing, but here it is a list, but the thing here which is printing in this print function will be an array. It is a numpy array. So that is the numpy dot n dimensional array. So that is what it means. So what is the catch? What is the catch why you should be using arrays and not lists? Lists seem to be pretty easy and everything, but why should we know about arrays? So here we go. We are giving one list. We are declaring one list which is named as list1, and there is another list which is declared as list2. And when I'm printing these two lists, list1 plus list2, I expect something like 4, 4, 4. Like, does it make sense? I'm expecting something like it should be adding the 0 index elements in the both lists, and it should be returning me 4, and it should be adding the index position 1 element, and it should be returning 4. But what it is trying to do is, it is printing, not printing, it is actually concatenating both of these lists. So what NumPy functionality provides is, check it out. So we are converting the given list into a NumPy array. So that is given by np.array, and this again we have done the same for the list 2, and we are printing np list 1 plus np list 2. So see the difference here. When I'm actually adding two lists and printing, it is concatenating both the lists. But when I'm doing the same with np, it is giving me the added value. So these are the few disadvantages you have with the lists, and that can be overcome by NumPy arrays. Okay, so subsetting is another important and crucial point in NumPy. So let's give a list, and we'll convert that list into a NumPy array. So you have done that by np.array, and you have given that whole value into a new variable np list. So when I try to print the values which are greater than 4, print np list greater than 4. So what values are greater than 4? They are 5, 6 and 7. So for values which are greater, that is the condition where the values are satisfying, so it returns true, true, true. And for those which are not satisfying this condition, it will be giving false, 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 false. So when I want to print those elements, so what I would be using is, I would be using np list, and in that list I want to return those values which are greater than 4. So that is the whole concept here. These are the values np list greater than 4, and I want to print the list values which are satisfying this condition. So that gives you these true values, the values which are here in true. So you will be getting that values 5, 6, 7. And this is the same thing which we have seen previously. Type of np list, it gives you np dot n dimensional array. And another thing is subsetting in NumPy arrays. So one important thing you should be noticing here is, check this out. These are two individual lists. Okay, these are two individual lists, and you are defining them in another list, so that it gives you a matrices type of property. So when you check it in row wise, so this will be a row index 0, this will be having a row index 1. But when you see from a column perspective, it will be a column index of 0, column index of 1, column index of 2, column index of 3, and column index of 4. So now let's try to print values 0, 0. So you should be noting the first part we are mentioning here will be row index columns, row index values, and here we are mentioning would be the column indexes. So let's say 0, which means it is going like this, and 0 coming like this. So here and here the common value will be the 2, so it is printing 2. And the next part will be print values 0, 1. So 0 would be this part, and 1 would be here like this. So which is the common value here in the both? It is 4. So let's go for 0, 2. So 0 and 2, so we would be getting 6. And next 0 and 3, so 0 and 3, it would be 8. So let's try print values 1 comma, I want to print 3, so I'll be giving here 1, sorry. So 1 would be going like this, and again column index value is 1, so it is coming like this. So what is common in both here? 1 and 1, it is 3, right? So you are printing 3. Let's say I want to print 5, so I would be doing that by 1 and column index position 2. So I'll print 1 comma 2, and it gives me 5. Okay, so put me a message if you are able to understand it, or else you would be having confusion. Like I am screen recording it, so I'll not be able to hear your audio. So if you are able to understand, anyone please drop a message here. Okay, so again I am explaining this thing. So the first part will be a row index and the second part here will be the column index. So 1 comma 2, it goes like a row index position 1, and 2 would be 5. Okay, so again this is the same thing, print values 1 comma 0. So 1 comma 0 will be 1 and 0, so it is 1, and let's go with 1 comma 1. So 1 comma 1 will be the row index 1 and again the column index 1, so they both are having a common value 3. So that is how you do it. And let's say I want to print values using this slicing part, so you should be knowing it. So we have given it 0 comma, we have given this colon mark which is used for slicing. So I wanted to say, so basically this part means, I have told you previously, if you want to print an entire list, you will not be mentioning any front and back, inclusive part and exclusive part. The same can be used for subsetting as well. So let's say I want to print this entire first row. So what I would be doing is, since this is the row I wanted, so I have given it the row index 0, and I want to print all columns, so I haven't given any column value. Okay, so what it tries to do is it goes through all row index values and every corresponding column. So that's how it prints 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's say I want to print the mean value of 2 and 1. So what I should be doing here? So I would be giving it as 0, not this 0. I would be giving it as, I want to print all the rows, like all the rows in column index 0. So that means 2, 1. So this is what it means. I want to print all the rows which are in the index column 0. All the rows which are in index column 0. So that gives you, if you use np.mean and you use this whole thing here like this, so what values are there here? 2 and 1. So 2 plus 1 by 3, it gives you 1.5. And in the same way, if I want to know the median, so I'll be using np.median. And if I want to know the standard deviation, so that would be done by std, so it would give you 0.5. So I urge you guys to do and practice this subsetting more, because when you go into a data frame, this slicing part will not only be done with these numbers, it would be done with characters, categorical variables, numerical variables, different types of variables and all. So then you would be feeling the difficulty. Because when you dive deep into machine learning, there would be a part called as dummy variables, wherein you should be slicing it very carefully, or else the model will be disturbed. So this is one important point. And the next is visualization. So a basic visualization is indeed needed, because if you see, just like without, if I am not doing this again, like let's say, let's think this part is not here. We are given this list of values here, and we are given this thing. So let's hope a company employee or some senior manager comes to us and gives these two values and asks us to tell what's in there, like explain those to me. So you can't do anything, right? Those are just numbers, and they are given in list format and everything, but you don't know what you can do. So then what you will be doing is you would be visualization. So visualization is done by using matplotlib. So the standard way of importing the matplotlib package will be import matplotlib.pyplot as plt. And so when I put this here in the x-axis and the vals in y-axis, I have a graph something like this. So seeing this graph, I can say that the value has been increased from 2000 to 2001, but it has depreciated back again to 2002, and from 2002 it has got a steep rise. So you can give the inference like that by visualization just by seeing these two list values. Earlier you were not able to draw any conclusions, but when you are able to plot these graphs, you are able to say this was increasing, here it was decreasing, and again here it was increasing. So that is the most prominent feature of visualization. So this has been done by matplotlib. If you have a list here and you have another list, so you can plot it by using plt.plot function. With here, the value here which you give first will be the x-axis, and this one will be the y-axis. Okay, so the next thing, like if you show this simple image to your manager, he would be getting pretty much mad at you. So what you could do is you can do the customization. So customization in the sense, what I meant is I would be writing plt.x label here, so it gives me here, and plt.y label values, which would give me the values, and plt.title. This would be some random graph. I could give it like business graph, something like that. Okay, so this is what you should be doing. So these three are the customization points you can make up here, and there are several functions called as xticks and yticks, which will not be really using. What you would be using is mostly these things only. You need not bother about xticks or yticks, anything like that. So yeah, I have got this thing like this, right? So let's say I want to know only the points. I don't want these lines in between. These lines seem pretty odd for me. So that I can do it by scatter plots. So what it does is it would put a data point to the corresponding values, and yeah, you could see a graph like this without any lines in between. You would just be knowing the data points. So that could be achieved by plt.scatterplot. And in meantime, we will also come to know about different plots like box plot, swarm plot, etc. So scatterplot is one of the most important plots we should be knowing. And yeah, next would be the histogram. So histogram, let's actually first plot a histogram. So let's give those values here. We are giving a set of values, and I am plotting hist. A histogram is plotted in this way, plt.hist, and I have given the values and bins. So bins actually means this rectangular box is one bin, and this other rectangular box is another bin, and this one is another bin. So what it tries to do is, since I have given 3 bins, so accordingly it will divide the whole x-axis, and those values which are ranging from 0 to 2 are given, like 4 values are ranging from 0 to 2, and from 2 to 4 there are 6 values which are ranging, and from 4 to 6 there are somewhere around 2 values which are ranging. So this will be a prominent feature of histogram. But what happens is, when you change the bins, so accordingly the values will change. Like 0 to 3 it took some values, from 3 to 6 it took another values. So you can see with different bins which you are giving here, the graph is changing. So like I can put a binning of 10, you guys can put some binning values of 3, like for example Mohit can put a binning value of 11, Balaji can put an binning value of 10. So for different persons, so different uh, graphs will be returned. So different histograms will be returned. So what happens is there will not be any consistency. Let's take, if I'm one of a team member in a data science group, so I would be using a binning of 10, so another guy would be using a binning of 15. So what happens is when we submit the report to a manager, so what happens is you would be getting confused, like why you have used this and why you have used the other one has used another bin. So on what should I rely on? Should I be relying on your bins or should I be relying on the other guy's bins? So he generates a confusion. So in order to avoid that confusion, we'll not be using histograms as much as we use scatter plots and normal plots. So that interpretation between the different bins is called as the binning bias. We call that as binning bias since different people choose different bins. So there would be a change in the graphs. So we call that as the binning bias. Like the standard one will be 10. If you don't mention anything here, the computer by itself defaultly chooses the binning value of 10. So since the values we have given are not till 10, we have given only it had come only to 6. So the normal default value will be 10. So in order to avoid binning bias, people will not be giving any bins here. But if the data is like pretty much small, a binning value of 10 will not exactly represent the graph properly.